right now. Listen up.
3, 2, 1.
It's showtime.
That's great.
This is ridiculous.
99.3 The Truth.
You can't handle the truth right now.
Ooh.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Let's do it.
Hit it.
It's time for Mac's World. And here we go.
Everybody, let's get it started. Let's get it started.
Call Mac 244-0077 or text 809-0993.
It's showtime, everybody. Showtime.
Exclusively on 99.3 The Truth.
It's 7 minutes after 4 o'clock on the 13th day of September in the Lord's year 2016. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Welcome to the second hour of Mac's World Live here on 99.3. Tom Coates is going to stick around for a while. I hope you do. You know, we spend a lot of time talking about politics and sometimes not enough time about Jesus.
Sure.
And I want to introduce you to Pastor Philip Herman. He is with Highland Park Community Church. It's a brand new church. They're sharing space with True Bible Baptists at 4101 Amherst in Highland Park. And I left the Highland Park part for last. Because everybody's planting a church in Waukee. Everybody's planting a church in West Des Moines. Everybody's planting a church in Urbandale, Ankeny, Pleasant Hill. But nobody's planting churches where people need churches right in the middle of the mess. You know, I happen to have a great relationship with a guy by the name of Michael Hurst, and he's got a passion for the inner city. His new church will be right next to the Grub YMCA. And pardon my language if this is offensive to you, but you don't get much more in the hood than the Grub YMCA. And Pastor Herman's doing the same thing. Pastor, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Now, if I recall, you moved here from someplace.
I did, most recently from Nebraska, but before that from 25 years in Chicago area.
Okay. And where were you in Nebraska again?
Norfolk.
Norfolk. Okay, that's right. How about those 2 victories for the Big Red coming so far?
It was great.
It was great, especially that last one, man. They just ate those guys' lunch.
Sure.
And the Hawkeyes did okay, too.
That's right.
All right. So why Highland Park? I mean, seriously. You know, one of my passions is to help pastors grow their churches through facilities.
Sure.
And through curriculum. Right now, for the next 12 weeks, I'm helping lead. Now, I want to be really careful here because there's a lot of good people working on this, but there's a program called Alpha.
Yes.
And the church that I've been attending for so many years, Lutheran Church of Hope, it's a staple within our congregation. Well, Living Faith Lutheran never had Alpha.
Right.
And so I'm taking a break from Lutheran Church of Hope, and I'm going over to Living Faith now for 12, 13 weeks and implementing that curriculum with Alpha. I see it happening all over the metro.
Right.
But not much in Highland Park or, you know, the Hood or the Drake neighborhood or close South Side.
Yep.
Why?
Well, there's, as you said, there's certainly not money in it. There's not fame. But what we've found is an incredible story of God desiring to do something, and we were simply asked to join him in that. And that's been an incredible journey to do that.
And how does he communicate that to you? How does he reveal himself to you and tell you to go to Highland Park? I don't mean to be skeptical. No, I just think you're a really brave guy.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Those collection plates aren't going to be full, and it'll be tough to make budget, and it'll be tough to pay the power bill. Even if your church is massively attended, it's still not a community that can afford a $7 million building, let alone probably a $1 million building.
Right. And so what we found was that God drew us there. Highland Park is a neighborhood very, very familiar to me because it's just like the neighborhoods I worked in Chicago.
Okay.
And when I found that neighborhood and realized it was so close to Grandview, and maybe we could engage some of the Grandview students to engage.
Because you're also a professor at Grandview.
I am now. I'm an adjunct professor. Yes.
Okay. And in what?
Teaching Course Seminar 2, teaching urban poverty and racial reconciliation. two sections.
Okay, hold on. You got
Black Lives Matter.
You got to back up. Talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. What was the first one?
Urban poverty and racial reconciliation.
You teach urban poverty?
Yes.
Okay, kids, gather around. Here's how we're going to be poverty, right? No? I mean, what is that?
It's a class on how do we do civil discourse? How do we agree to disagree? And the subjects that we're talking about are urban poverty and racial reconciliation. Everyone has an opinion about why poor people are poor. Everyone has an opinion about race. What we're talking about in this class is how do we do something about that? And how do we agree to agree where we can? And how do we disagree in areas we can't?
Can I ask the professor a question?
Okay.
Is crime directly related to poverty?
For the most part, yes. But not completely, obviously. I mean, there's plenty of white-collar crime, so.
I guess I would ask the question is why during the Great Depression didn't we not have more crime then if it's directly related to poverty?
Because I believe we had not created a completely dependent society.
Well, that's true. There was more individual initiative and independence from a nanny government.
Yes,
I guess that I would agree with that. And I obviously I don't think it directly correlates, and I don't think you do either. Just because somebody's poor does not mean they're going to be predisposed to be crooked.
No.
Now look at Hillary Clinton.
Guys, we're done with Hillary Clinton. She's got one foot in the grave. Well, let me say something that you might not like, and I don't mean to offend you, but poverty will never be fixed.
That's correct.
There will always be poverty.
That's right.
I'm not so sure that there will always be troubled race relations, too.
I'm pretty confident there will be, yes.
I mean, of course I can say this. I'm a middle-aged white guy, but we have a black president.
Yes.
And there seems to be more unrest in the black community than ever. That's backwards to me. Why wouldn't, as a black person, you wouldn't stand up and proudly say, hey, forget about your oppression. We're the president. Mm-hmm. But instead, they march and they destroy and I don't know. I got to be careful because I don't feel racist, but I don't want to sound racist. You know, I just use the term they.
Right. Well, it's a very complicated issue. We were just talking about in class today that exactly what you just laid out. We will not solve poverty for everyone. We will not solve race reconciliation for everyone, but we can lessen that. We can be strategic in how we approach these things, and we're exploring some unbelievably powerful books that talk about toxic charity. And we in the church are notorious for doing things really, really hurtful when we're trying to do good.
Okay, back up. If you do this one more time, that's 3 in 1 hour, Pastor, and it's only a quarter after. Talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. Toxic charity?
Yes.
What does that mean?
It means that we desire to help people, but quite honestly, when we strip it all away, what we're trying to do is help us to feel good. And what we don't realize and what we don't process is how when we help people in the way that we do, we create dependency. And that's not what the Bible says. We were never supposed to create dependency for people. We are supposed to create independence, self-sufficiency that allows a person to turn around and help someone else.
But you know who does that? We're going to talk politics for a minute, Tommy. You know who does that? It's the Democrats.
No, there's plenty of Republicans that do it too.
But Mac is right. If you compare the two parties, yes, I agree. There's corporate welfare and there's everything else. But the intent their predecessors in the Democrat Party in the South made them slaves,
yes.
An underclass of people. The modern day Democrat makes them significantly more dependent on nanny government, makes them reliant on that, takes their independence away, and assumes that 90% of them are going to vote for them in the ballot box, which they've done for Barack Obama. And so I would certainly contend, and I think I can back it up very strongly, that of the two parties, the Democrats are the ones that want to take the Hispanics, take the Muslims, take the blacks in this country, and make them subservient to nanny government. You're shaking your head. Yes, you don't disagree with that.
I don't disagree with that. Okay. No.
I was told once by somebody smarter than I am, so that includes most people, that the reason that government has become such a welfare hippie is because they don't want the churches to do it. Because if the churches do it, then Jesus comes into it, and faith and values and relationship, and the government can't control those people because they've surrendered their life to God.
Well, the reality is if you look out on the street and say, who's helping people? The overwhelming number of people that are out helping people are Christians, are faith-based groups. And then the government helps in the ways that they think they're helping. The problem is that we in the church also cause harm. Not intentionally, not because we're mean-spirited, not because we wanted to create dependency, but we just don't think through all the way what it really looks like what we're doing. And so it's been a good class, and we're looking forward to the rest of the semester. So,
what qualifies you to teach that? Because obviously you're pretty smart on that stuff. Mm-hmm. What is your degree in? Or?
25 years in the city of Chicago.
Okay.
Really learning things the hard way and making a lot of mistakes. And I can't fully explain why God did it, but I clearly sensed a call in my life in my college years that He was doing three things in my life. And one was I came from poverty, and He said, you're going to work with poor people for most of your life until I change the plan. 2, He said, you're going to work on racial reconciliation. And 3, He said, when you do those 2 things, you're going to work on justice. And that's what's been the call of my life.
Pastor Philip Herman is planning a church in the middle of Highland Park. It's called Highland Park Community Church. And I find it fascinating that Jesus still exists in Highland Park. We'll talk about it when we come back.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi. My name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rock and Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
21 minutes after 4 o'clock, 4:21 in the afternoon, 13th day of September in the Lord's year 2016. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Tomorrow, Spencer Karoff is going to be in. And I'm expanding. I know you're probably sick of this topic. Just let me play for a while, because I just... God has laid on my heart that this needs to be discussed. And I know I'm a little bit of a wacko. But this whole idea that can the accuser be forgiven? Can the accuser go to God and say, God, I messed up. I messed everything up. And I read the book and I end up in the lake of fire burning with sulfur. It's not what I want. May I repent? Will you allow me and my minions to repent? Just think of the revival. I mean, that's a big deal. We think planting a church in Highland Park's a big deal. My father-in-law thought Billy Graham was a big deal. Led him to the Lord. What if all of a sudden the plans change and God allows the accuser to repent and grace is abound? I don't know. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. You got any thoughts on that, Pastor, or do you want to put your big toe in that water?
I better not go down that road.
Okay. You're probably smart. Because Frank agrees with me. Completely says it's completely biblical.
I don't want to focus at all on Black Lives Matter, but I do want to talk about race relations. And I got a question for you. We've had a couple of black gentlemen in here, one named Shad and another one named Steven Stegall. Shad kind of comes at it from the point of toxic charity. You know, that please quit, Democrats, please quit helping us. You know, you're ruining our community. Stephen kind of says this change, or he's the emphasis that the change is really the church's responsibility and that the church needs to really solve and jump in the middle of the race relations. You're kind of schooled in this. What's your suggestion to put a lid on this simmering pot that is the race relations that's about ready to bubble over in this country?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to answer that in a couple different veins, if I could. One is part of the issue, part of the problem is that our political correctness has not helped us, it's hurt us. So instead of us openly and honestly talking about issues, learning to do civil discourse, we stuff it down. And we're told to stuff it down, not talk about what our feelings are, not talk about our hurt, not talk about our pain. And then what happens is, and any psychologist would tell you, when you stuff it, then it explodes. At some point, it's going to explode. And I think that's what we're seeing out on the street. We're seeing an explosion of frustration that people really had no outlet to express in a way that would have helped people instead of being destructive to themselves and other people. And the other answer to that question is that I believe the racial problems stem from sin. And it stems from a self-centeredness that unless the church that has the answer gets involved in solving that, then we're never going to get resolution. And really the book that we're using in the class is by George Yancey. He's a person from Dallas, a black professor, worked all of his life on this, and it's called Beyond Racial Gridlock. And he examines the four major sociological ways that we've approached race relationships in this country, lays out the pros and cons of those, and then offers a fifth one. And the fifth one is a biblical model that he lays out that talks about mutual responsibility. That there's sin and brokenness in your life, there's sin and brokenness in my life, and until we both recognize our brokenness, we will never be fully the way that Christ wanted us to be.
Well, do you have the other four real quick?
I don't. Not at the top of my head. Sorry.
Well, let me ask you this, Philip. When we have a president that was elected by many white people back almost 8 years ago, as the one that was going to bring us together and put race behind us.
Yes.
And instead of trying to do that, he has become the great agitator. He has thrown gasoline on this fire whenever an opportunity arose. Now, the latest one is the Kaepernick thing in San Francisco.
Yeah.
He, and of course, they've actually got some things in common. Both of them are only half black by their genetics. Both of them were raised by white parents, in Obama's case, grandparents. So they're not coming from the hood. They don't have that kind of background, and yet both of them want to gain notoriety or credit. Now, in Obama's case, I think it has put us, as Max said, in a position where we have not had this much divide in the races and this much open hostility since the 60s.
I would tell you that it's worse.
It could be.
In the history. because I'm just going to be honest. It caught me off guard. That whole thing in Ferguson, I just sat back and went, what? And then the narrative and the misinformation and the maliciousness. And then I do believe that the Black Panthers came down from Chicago or wherever they did. And
Black Lives Matter, funded by George Soros.
Infiltrated that group, and they burned a town down.
Well, absolutely. And we know that the initial narrative that Obama and those wanted to push was that he had a racist white cop shooting an innocent black guy.
Hands up, don't shoot.
And thank goodness we had the video from the store where he strong-armed the store clerk and stole the box of cigars that he was going to make into delivery devices for marijuana. And then he tries to strong-arm the cop and take his gun away. My gosh, if he had taken the gun away, the cop wouldn't be around today, would he?
Right.
And he gave him no choice because he didn't stop. He continued to charge at him. So all the narratives, the hands up, don't shoot, was shown to be a fallacy, and yet we still get this from the Obama administration. This can't. You're our expert. You're our in-house expert today. This cannot be helpful for the rest of society to have this going on. This great agitator named Barack Obama.
No, it's not helpful. The good news is there will be a change very soon. One way or the other.
Hopefully.
All right, let's. I want to switch to the church for a little bit. Are you okay with that? I know you're getting ready to go because you got a grandson you got to go pick up or something.
He's going to be playing football. I haven't seen his game yet. So, I was out of town when he played his game the other day.
How old is he?
He's 13 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he's almost high school.
Yeah, in middle school. He's 7th grade.
That's awesome. All right. Pastor Philip Herman is here. Highland Park Community Church. What? You've lived in Highland Park your whole life? You don't heard of it? Yeah, that's because it's new. They're sharing the space with the True Bible Baptist Church at 4101 Amherst. And I want to talk about what I think you called it the sovereignty of God in this project.
Yeah.
I call it proof of God. Mm-hmm. One of my out loud prayers, as well as my in the voice or in the head prayers, are always, God, will you please reveal yourself to me when you show up? Because I'm just not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Yeah.
And there isn't anything inside of me that says I have some kind of connection with God through Jesus or the Holy Spirit that, of course, it's going to be obvious to me. So when he gives me these proof of God stories, man, I embrace those. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't just put them in my pocket. I wrap them up in Joseph's gold little boxes and put them on the shelf.
Yeah.
And you've got some.
Yes.
I want to hear them.
Okay. Well, really, the first evidence of what we began to see was that God had shown up to Highland Park way before we did, and he had begun to lay out some things that he wanted to accomplish, and he simply asked us to join with him. And what ended up happening was that we've seen nothing but open doors in this neighborhood that continues to reinforce that God is wanting to do something major in this neighborhood. and he's asked several of us to come and join him on that journey. And what ended up happening was that from use of facility, we've just had a wonderful relationship with True Bible Baptist Church.
Oh, True Bible. What did I call it?
You called it True Bible. You're right.
Okay.
Yep. And they've been a blessing to us. We've been a blessing to them. We have a church that we can use right in the neighborhood there.
And you're evangelical.
I am
evangelical free,
Mm-hmm.
and so
that's correct.
So talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. Oh, that's the fourth time today. How do Baptists and evangelical frees differ?
Not so much.
Okay. I mean, can you put this thing together and be one congregation?
We could, yes.
Okay.
At some point, yes.
All right.
Yeah, I would just leave it at that. I would say yes, we could work together, and that could be a wonderful thing.
How do you split your day up? Since you both worship on the same day.
We don't.
Oh.
We have a Saturday night service.
Oh, okay.
And they have a Sunday morning service. And then there is a Spanish-speaking congregation that has a Sunday evening service. And so we maximize use of the building, and I've really found that to work out well. But the first story of really where we were like, okay, this is God. We were really new. We were just getting close to getting started. We were probably a couple months into this, and I was with a Des Moines pastors group, and one of the lead pastors there asked one of the pastors in the group that was a black pastor in Des Moines to pray for our church plant. He knew nothing about our church plant, knew nothing really about me, but was just asked kind of cold to pray. And he just began to pray. And this was a Thursday morning. And he just began to pray and prayed for about 10 minutes, just asking God to show up in Highland Park and do a work in Highland Park so that all of Des Moines would know. And that's what his prayer was. That was at the heart of his prayer. The next week, we got a couple that showed up at the church. And I was relaying the story in the service and just kind of encouraging our people and saying, people are praying for us. And the wife nudges her husband, and after the service, they came up to me and with kind of a sheepish look, and they said, this man's father died on Thursday morning. And he said, I had not been in church for many years, and that was a wake-up call to me. And I said to my wife, we've got to go to church. And at the very time that pastor was praying that something would happen in Highland Park, that couple was realizing their need for God and showed up the next Saturday night. There was nothing that we did that marketed them. It was simply the Spirit of God drawing a family right to us. Yeah. They're still with us. And we began to see that through the journey of the people that God's brought here. We've seen a journey of people that came out of the sex industry. We've seen a journey of people that have not been in church for over a decade.
So you really are reaching the lost.
Yes.
All right, Pastor Philip Herman is my guest, Highland Park Community Church. They share the building at 4101 Amherst with True Bible Baptist Church in Highland Park. I want to talk when we come back a little bit about some of the successes you're having in partnerships.
Yeah.
That's a cool story, though. That's great. And they're still with you.
Yeah.
Good. All right. We're coming back live here in Mac's World on 99.3 The Truth.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money-back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Working with Bob and Frank is like herding cats.
He feeds me quarters.
4:38, 22 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News, and then Hank, the Bible Answer Man at 1-888-ASK-HANK. If you want to ask Hank a question, call him up. Get on the radio. Hang with him on the radio and see if he gives his answer. Hank has a habit of kind of changing the question. And I understand that tactic. I have a friend who always says to me, well, that's not really the question. Here's the question. And that's just, I'm sorry, that's manipulative. No, that's not the question. That's what you want the question to be, because you can frame an answer that will lean your way. If a person takes the time to ask you a question, answer the question. And then after you're done with that, say, now, let me ask you something. Here's the way I would frame a question concerning this topic. Anyway, I'm not whining about Hank. I just sometimes the questions that people call in are so raw. I mean, there's no theology that can answer it that quick, but Hank does it. I don't know how he does it. So appreciate him all night long.
So what?
At least 6 to 7 p.m.
So what you're saying is he dusted your question
5
off.
to 6. Yeah, I guess if that's what you want to call it. You know, I called and asked him, can the accuser repent?
And I had a follow-up question, and I thought I got a pretty good answer from old Hank for a change, because me and Hank very often disagree.
Me and Hank.
It's
like
Hank
they're buddies. So me and Hank were talking, you know?
Hank and I often disagree, but Hank and I agreed that day.
What was the question you asked?
I asked him, I said, what's your answer to potentially people who believe in universalism? I don't know exactly how I asked the question, but I said, here's what I feel about it. What can you add to that? And he gave some pretty good answers that we kind of agreed together on.
So are you teachable?
Well, sure.
Oh, boy, that is just dipped in sauerkraut and sweetness. All right, Pastor Philip Herman is here. He's got a brand new church he just planted in Highland Park, Des Moines. Highland Park Community Church, sharing the space at 4101 Amherst with True Bible Baptists. Now, before we get and talk about some of the partnerships, you got When did this text come in? Did it just come in?
No, it came in at, actually 4:27.
Well, the conversation last hour was that there are people who are beginning to think that Hillary Clinton is in the beginning stages of Parkinson's. And somebody took the time to read or write a really good text about Parkinson's. And I want to honor that person's time and effort, but we're not going to, Frank, we're not going back to that topic.
Okay, I promise. I will not say a word.
Okay, I just want to honor the texter, and then I want to get back to you. But if we had somebody that put this kind of time into it, these are the kind of listeners I love, and I want to honor those people. So go ahead.
Okay, my wife and I are currently in the middle of diagnostic testing for my mother-in-law for Parkinson's, so we have done a lot of research over the last few months about it. Many of Clinton's symptoms match Parkinson's to a T. But what is really scary is that there are Parkinson's-related syndromes called Parkinson's plus syndromes that are even scarier because they move much faster. Look up PSP online. Persons with PSP degenerate much more quickly and are typically incapacitated within 5 to 7 years. At this time, we don't know which my mother-in-law has, but these other symptoms or syndromes are manifested all of the typical Parkinson's symptoms except for the tremor usually seen in the hands. What people need to realize is that some people get Parkinson's with a tremor, Michael J. Fox, while there are quite a few related disorders like PSP that are terminal.
I don't know what PSP is.
That we were talking about Parkinson's plus syndrome.
Oh, okay.
While there are quite a few related disorders like PSP that are terminal, Parkinson's itself is not. Parkinson's can be treated with meds. Remember the 1990 Robin Williams, Robert De Niro film Awakenings?
Yeah.
While there is no treatment for PSP, the main difference leading to a diagnosis of Parkinson's plus, also called Parkinsonism, is that the hand tremor is missing. Blank stare, flat affect, loss of balance, rigidity, trouble swallowing, which eventually leads to death from aspiration pneumonia, cognitive decline are shared amongst many of these peripheral symptoms. With PSP, you can expect to decline rapidly and be wheelchair bound or worse within 5 years. Death follows soon after immobility.
All right. So, for somebody who's suffering from the beginning or the ending stages of Parkinson, our prayers are with you. Whether that's what Hillary has or not, I don't know. I don't know if it matters, because I don't think she's going to step away. She wants to be the first woman elected president of the United States. Once that happens, and she's, sworn in, she made history. She did it. And what happens to her afterwards, I'm not sure she cares. And maybe I wouldn't either. Maybe if I was the first, wouldn't be the first white guy, first guy from Beatrice, Nebraska to be elected president, I'd probably put my health aside and get that job done and then go on from there. All right. Pastor Philip Herman is my guest today. Highland Park Community Church, sharing the building at 4101 Amherst with True Bible Baptist. We got a couple of neat stories about proof of God, kind of just showing you that the sovereignty of Him is there for you, Pastor, and your congregation. Talk to me about some of the partnerships you've been able to form, because those are important.
Yeah, we've experienced really two types of seasons of that, I guess, if you will. We've seen people show up and do kind of work projects and just come in from all different churches to help with some of the facility work. We saw it show up at Memorial Day. We decided to do a joint block party with True Bible, and we really did not have enough people from either one of our churches to pull this off, to really do this well. And I was sharing this with a pastor friend. We were out to lunch, and he said, could we join you? And they were from what now is called Walnut Creek Highland Park. They moved down from Johnston, and they're now sharing the building in the Brethren building. And they do a big serve project during Memorial Day weekend. This was when we were doing it. And they said, hey, can we bring 15, 20 people? And I said, yeah, bring them. And they showed up. We got some people down from North Point Church up in Ankeny. They came down and served. We had a wonderful day and pulled off because people said, this isn't about our church. This is about a kingdom work that's going on in Highland Park. And we want to be a part of that. And we saw that in the summertime. We said, hey, let's do a summer adventure camp. Let's do an enrichment day camp for kids in the neighborhood, and let's put that together. And so we began talking about what that would look like. Well, the morning was things that we said, hey, we want to do some STEM activities with kids. Well, there was multicultural educational programs in the neighborhood. They came along and provided all of our STEM activities. We said, how do we feed the kids at lunchtime? Des Moines Public School had a summer feeding program that we were able to partner with and become a partner in that summer feeding program. We built a partnership with the Des Moines Park District, so these kids once a week got to go over to the Aquatic Center. And then we had Epworth Methodist Church just down the road, out of a blue, heard about what we were doing with kids and said, hey, we've got this whole room upstairs in our church where we used to run a program. We've got tons of craft supplies. We heard that you need craft supplies for the afternoon. Can you use them? And basically met all of our craft needs the whole summer long for 20 days of camp for 3 groups of kids every day doing a craft project. And we just saw that, and then United Way came into the equation, and they provided some funding.
That is awesome. So your summer adventure camp was successful then?
It's hugely successful.
All right, when we come back, what's next? It's the fall programs in our last segment today with Pastor Philip Herman from Highland Park Community Church, being planted as we speak. Are you looking for a church home? Maybe you try that place out this Saturday night. We'll talk about that next.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
4:50, 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Salem Radio Network News at the top of the hour. And then Hank, the Bible Answer Man. You can call him 1-888-ASK-HANK and get on his radio show and ask him a question. Spencer Karoff from First Church of the Open Bible tomorrow. We've got a whole week of fun scheduled. And I don't know about you. I don't know if you're a long-time listener or whether you've just started. But, and this is not about me. This is about what you, the listeners, say to me when I'm at Hy-Vee, or when I'm at church, or I'm visiting another church, or where I'm at. I was at Perkins this morning, having one of my favorite dishes, $4. And at another table, a guy, he gave me with that look that he said, "Oh, that's the voice. I know that voice." Mm-hmm. And he walked up and he said, "Mac, I started listening to you years ago, and then I found out you were back on 99.3, and I knew it was a Jesus thing, and I didn't know if I'd like it or not." And he said, "I'm glued every day." And what that tells me is that Frank and Bob and Jebediah and Chris are really doing a great job. The job I do is the same job I've done for years. I've been doing this 44 years. Oh, shoot, I forgot. We got to 45 this year, summer. 45 years. But I can't do this without a very successful Bob Mozzarella, a very successful Frank the Verse, a very successful Jebediah, and, of course, Chris Roloff. So the show's really coming along. It's only basically 14, 15 months old right now. Before that, we were kind of doing View from the Pew every day, and when we stepped up with our new power, Chris Roloff encouraged me to change the name of the show back to Mac's World and just dig into the community. Just dig deep into the community and find out what's going on, and that's what we've been doing. And as Sally Field once said, "You like me. You really like me." So thank you very much. All right. I know you really like Frank. All right, Pastor Philip Herman is here, Highland Park Community Church. They meet and share a building at 4101 Amherst in Highland Park. That's with True Bible Baptist. We talked about how proof of God is all over this thing for you. You've got great partnerships going. You kind of segued into your summer adventure camp, and now let's talk about the future. At my church last weekend, we had a rally weekend, but apparently rally is a Lutheran term. I don't know. Have you ever heard of a rally weekend?
No.
Well, it's that Sunday in the fall when all the programs start and the new classes and stuff, and that's kind of what you've got going.
Right. Yeah, one of the things that we talked about was how do we ground people? How do we give people a framework? If you've been away from God for a while, if you've never come to God, how do you understand what he's trying to do and where you fit into that plan? And so one of the things we've taken on is the story. 31 weeks of a program that takes you from Genesis through Revelation and quickly but very succinctly gives you the big story of what God is trying to accomplish in his world and where do I fit into that. And so we're preaching on that, and then we're doing classes afterwards for middle school to teenagers and adults that really digs into what is the story of God and where do I fit into that.
And did you say it's the book, The Story?
Yes.
Yeah, it's an amazing book.
Yes. Yeah.
It really is. We studied that for, I don't know, I think a year.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, good.
And so we're doing that, and we're back doing a program over at Madison Elementary, the Whiz Kids program, every Monday night. We just started last night. A year ago, from perspective, we had 11 kids the first night. Last night we had 31 kids.
Wow.
And just a tremendous night.
Now you got to go, I'm sorry, Pastor, you got to go home and look in that mirror with tears in your eyes and say, Jesus, thank you.
Yes.
31 kids in a year.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, right?
Yeah.
It's the kids.
Yeah.
It's not old guys like me.
Yeah. We said that if we don't reach kids and their families, then we're no different and we failed as a church, because that's what's missing from most of the churches that are in that neighborhood right now. And so we said, let's go reach the kids. And tomorrow we'll start a program that's called HAS, that is a program for Harding middle school kids after school to come right to the Lutheran church right across the street from Harding and to spend 2 hours of positive fun and teaching about God right there, right next to the school.
You're working with the Lutheran church?
We are. I said partnerships are a part of it. I mean, God is doing a kingdom thing here.
Yeah, I get
a kingdom thing.
I think you mentioned that the facility also hosts a Hispanic service.
Correct.
Are you getting crossover? Because there's a lot of Hispanics in the community. Are
There
you
is.
getting a lot of crossover into your service, or are they pretty much exclusively having their own?
We're obviously targeting Hispanic bilingual families, and we're just beginning that. We're just beginning to get that turn. So.
That's it?
Yes, that's it. It was a question. It was an actual question.
515-244-0077. That's the number you can call if you want to call. Bill, thanks for calling earlier. You can also text us at the Service Legends Truth text line at 515-809-0993. So what do you need from the community? There's a pastor sitting out in Waukee or Johnston or whatever, and he's got stuff.
Yes.
And he doesn't know what to do with the stuff.
Yeah.
What do you need?
The immediate need is we need game equipment. Like I said, we're starting this middle school program, and we have one foosball table. We need all sorts of game equipment to really have this program be what we need it to be. We need some painters. We have a facility at the Lutheran Church that we need to paint, and we need painters. We have a floor that got damaged at the Baptist Church this summer from water. We fixed the water issue, but I need to lay vinyl plank flooring. I need meals. So these 31 Madison kids, we feed them a meal every Monday night. I need people that bake to bring a meal to these kids. Snacks. So, I mean, these are very practical, hands-on things. I don't have to be Frank the Bible Answer Man. Or Hank the Bible Answer Man. I just have to have things that I say, God, how can you use them? And we can use them.
I just retext the guy that we talked about last week, who said he would step up and get us some games. And I, to be honest with you, I forgot about it till just now. So I'm texting him.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. What else do you need? I'm sorry.
And as you kind of began the show, we need the finances of other parts of God's kingdom to carry us right now, because the finances from this community are not going to carry us. So, I mean, again, it always comes back to money. But again, I think what all of us want to do is invest where God's moving. And it's obvious that we're just a tool right now that God's using in this neighborhood to partner with all these other people that want to see God show up in Highland Park in an amazing way, that the whole city of Des Moines says God showed up here and it was God. It wasn't me, it wasn't another pastor, it wasn't another church, but God showed up and he did something. And that's what we're looking to do.
All right, Pastor Herman, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for coming in today. You need to keep us on board with what's going on. And don't go through DeWay. Just call me directly. I may not even take the call. I will. All right, we'll see you tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Spencer Karoff in here with the continued conversation of, can the accuser be forgiven by God? Can the accuser come forward and make his amends and repent? Now, I don't want to worry about the accuser today. I want to worry about you. Have you forgiven the people, the things that have hurt you so bad? Because remember, as you forgive, that's how God will forgive you. You think Santa Claus is watching? God's watching too. See you tomorrow.